Month 3. Specialized Excavator Operations. Operating in Confined Spaces. Hello folks, welcome to this module on Specialized Excavator Operations that is designed to provide you with essential knowledge and skills needed to safely operate in confined spaces. Whether you work in construction, manufacturing, or any field where confined spaces are present, this lesson will enhance your understanding and help you stay safe. Confined space safety considerations. A confined space is any area that is large enough for an employee to enter and perform a task, has limited or restricted means for entry or exit, and is not designed for continuous occupancy. Examples include tanks, silos, storage bins, vaults, and pipelines. Characteristics of confined spaces: limited entry and exit. Confined spaces often have small openings, making access difficult for entry and exit. Poor ventilation. Many confined spaces have inadequate ventilation, leading to a buildup of toxic gases or oxygen deficiency, not intended for continuous occupancy. These areas are not designed for people to work in for extended periods. Potential hazards. Physical dangers such as machinery, electrical components, or hazardous substances may be present. Confined space safety considerations, risk assessment and planning. Before entering a confined space, it is crucial to conduct a thorough risk assessment and develop a plan to mitigate potential hazards. This includes identifying the type of confined space, understanding the specific risks, and planning how to address them. Key steps in risk assessment. Identify the confined spaces in your work area. Determine if entry is necessary or if the task can be completed from outside the space. Evaluate the potential hazards present in each space. Permit required confined spaces. Certain confined spaces require a permit for entry due to significant hazards. A permit system is in place to ensure that proper precautions are followed and all entry activities are documented. Components of a permit system. Identification. Clearly identify which spaces require a permit. Hazard evaluation. Assess the hazards present and determine the necessary controls. Authorization. Obtain written authorization before entry. Communication. Ensure all personnel involved understand the hazards and controls. Key safety measures. Training and competency. Employees who work in confined spaces must receive training to understand the risks and the required safety procedures. Training should cover hazard recognition, safe entry procedures, emergency response, and the use of personal protective equipment (PPE). PPE and equipment use. The correct use of PPE and equipment is vital in ensuring safety in confined spaces. Common equipment includes gas detectors, respirators, harnesses, and communication devices. Ensure all equipment is well maintained and inspected regularly. Operating techniques for confined spaces. Pre-entry procedures. Conduct a pre-entry briefing to discuss the work to be performed, potential hazards, and the emergency plan. Ensure all workers know their roles and responsibilities. Inspect the confined space and surrounding area for additional hazards. Ventilate the space if necessary to remove toxic gases or ensure adequate oxygen levels. During operation, while working inside a confined space, follow these guidelines to maintain safety. Continuously monitor atmospheric conditions using gas detectors. Maintain communication with workers outside the confined space at all times. Follow the established work procedures and use tools and equipment appropriately. Be alert for any changes in conditions and be prepared to evacuate if necessary. Emergency response. Having an effective emergency response plan is vital. Everyone involved in the operation should know what to do in case of an emergency. The plan should include clear procedures for evacuation, first aid, and contacting emergency services. Essential elements of an emergency plan: predefined evacuation routes and signals. Contact information for emergency services. Responsibilities for all team members. Regular drills and practice of emergency procedures. Figure 1. As you can see, the essential safety equipment for confined spaces. In conclusion, operating in confined spaces poses unique challenges and risks. It is essential to conduct a thorough risk assessment, understand the need for permits, and ensure comprehensive training for all employees. Utilizing proper operating techniques and having a well-practiced emergency response plan can significantly reduce the risks associated with confined spaces. Remember, safety is everyone's responsibility, and following these guidelines will help ensure a safe working environment. To enhance your understanding of confined space operations, we recommend watching the following video, which demonstrates best practices and safety measures visually. Here is a summary of specialized excavator operations and operating in confined spaces. Specialized excavator operations. 1. Demolition and deconstruction. Use specialized attachments and techniques for demolition and deconstruction projects. 2. Heavy lifting and placement. Use specialized rigging and lifting equipment for heavy lifting and placement operations. 3. Tunneling and shaft sinking. Use specialized excavators and equipment for tunneling and shaft sinking operations. 4. Pile driving and drilling. Use specialized attachments and equipment for pile driving and drilling operations. Operating in confined spaces. 1. Assessing confined spaces. Evaluate the confined space to determine the safest entry and operating procedures. 2. Ventilation and air quality. Ensure proper ventilation and air quality in the confined space. 3. Lighting and visibility. Ensure adequate lighting and visibility in the confined space. 4. Emergency response planning. Develop and implement an emergency response plan for operating in confined spaces. Safety considerations. 1. Operator training. Ensure operators are trained and experienced in specialized excavator operations and confined space entry. 2. Equipment inspection and maintenance. Regularly inspect and maintain equipment to ensure it is in good working condition. 3. Hazard recognition and mitigation. Identify and mitigate potential hazards associated with specialized excavator operations and confined space entry. 4. Continuous monitoring and communication. Continuously monitor the work environment and maintain open communication with the operator and other personnel. Thank you for completing this lesson on specialized excavator operations and operating in confined spaces. Remember, safety starts with you. See you in the next lectures. Happy learning, folks!